We're back. The first oil rig run in a little over a month, I think, since I got the Plasma Cannon 4 schematic. I just took a little bit of a break. I was hoping they would release some sort of patch to buff the drop rates or something, at least for the armors, which is the whole reason I was doing this oil rig run in the first place. I wasn't really interested so much in the weapons. I really just wanted the cold resistant Hexlight armor. Mainly the cold resistant, because if you're fighting Victor, Lily, and Björn, they're all in cold regions, so I don't want to waste a slot, an accessory slot on the thermal undershirt thing. And I think when you're fighting Xenolord, it depends a little bit on your region. If it turns to nighttime at least and you're riding Frostallion, you will often take cold damage if you're not wearing a cold resistant armor or undershirt. I just find like if you want to have your 4 accessory slots freed up, you want the cold armor. So I've been using the cold resistant plasteel armor in most of my Björn videos. So I am back on the oil rig. Hopefully not too many more runs before I get that cold resistant Hexlight armor. So this is my first time trying out the legendary plasma cannon. And it doesn't seem to have a super long range. But this is my first time trying it out on the oil rig. I wanted to do a quick comparison of how it performs against the chopper compared to the quad launcher. So since the range was pretty short, I shot a couple of missiles there, but they didn't hit anyway. This is just out of range on the first attempt there. So that's something to keep in mind, that the range isn't super long. The quad launcher is something that you probably want to bring anyway. And then I am using, it's 5 Vanguards, it's 3 Gobfins, and the Fellbat for the heal effect. So that's just something that makes it so if you can actually fight a little bit out in the open. If you're not using Fellbat, you probably still need to use the quad launcher and bend missiles around pillars, but I do recommend bringing a Fellbat anyway, or a Lavander. It's either one really. But it's they patched the chopper at some point, not super recently, to have a bigger like critical strike, like a bigger headshot area. So the potential DPS of the plasma seems to be a little bit higher, or at least that's the theory, what I was testing here. So I'm gonna include some numbers from some of my previous runs once the chopper's down, so I could time how long time it took to defeat it. So I've been using the quad launchers mainly because you can stand behind a pillar and just bend missiles around it, you don't take damage. So standing out in the open, like yeah, it works with Fellbat, but if you're using Hexlight armor, you're gonna get a repair bill eventually if you're tanking this much damage and just relying on Fellbat to heal it all up. So you still want to dodge like as much damage as you can, just to not have to farm as much chromite as, or farm as little chromite as possible for that repair bill. So overall, with this headshot damage, it feels very strong compared to the quad. It was 90 seconds. I went back and looked at some of my older videos. One quad launcher was around 130. And in that video where I'm using 24 quad launchers, it was 80. So a little bit faster if you're using 24 quad launchers, but this tactic was a little bit more chill. Like you don't have to craft all those 24 quad launchers with this and do the swaps and everything. So after this is just gonna be a regular, little bit more rusty oil rig run. I'm trying, and I did get an applied kindling book. Very nice. Finally, I can actually get a maxed out Soothsayer. I think I'm gonna use it on to get a nocturnal kindling pal. So this is the first oil rig run in a little bit more than a month, so it's a little rusty, and I'm trying out the plasma cannon instead of the rocket launcher. But since I didn't really use the quad launcher a lot, I had the quad launcher more as a backup. If the chopper gets me low, I can just swap to the quad launcher, get behind a pillar and heal up. But I should probably, I can say that like in hindsight, I should have swapped the missile launcher for a rocket launcher, just to do a little bit more splash and splash healing. It's both like a defensive and an offensive weapon on the oil rig. With the stun effect, it makes it so that like NPCs aren't shooting you. You shoot a big clump of NPCs, they don't shoot you back because they're all flying through the air. But I'm using the plasma cannon. I wanted to see kind of how it felt with the range, like the range of the area of effect. It does do a lot of damage to one target, and possibly more if they're all grouped up. But usually I'm shooting the rocket launcher a little wildly at the floor somewhere to hit as many targets as possible for the heal. You can see here, this is rusty. I didn't know where the chest was there on the first check. Just small things like that. But this was not a speedrun, this is more a test of what it feels like to use the plasma cannon over the rocket launcher. Probably if I'm gonna keep farming for the cold resistant armor. I mean, I am still hoping for a patch where they increase the drop rate for that cold resistant armor. Like going by the math I did pretty recently, I think the average is 230 runs for the cold resistant armor. I could be lying, it's just a number I have in my head. So I still got a couple of more runs to do before I'm at like 230, I think. And even then, that's just like the average. You can easily do 400 runs and 500 runs and never see it. So still, but you can see the air effect there seems pretty good. You're doing a lot of damage to target you are shooting, but it's a little bit harder. Like the rocket launcher, you just aim anywhere pretty much and you will hit something. These crossbowmen are probably the most dangerous guys on the oil rig. When they stun you and you can't dodge or anything, you just die. So like here, you can shoot, you get a pretty big chunk of heal. But here, I would have shot the rocket launcher to hit all those targets. I think I only hit one with the plasma. So just repeating myself a little there. Probably want to use both those weapons and just leave the quad launcher at home. You can retire the quad launcher to doing like Björn and Xenolord or something. So the plasma cannon has better DPS if you're hitting all those headshots. And the quad launcher is just easy to use. Like you're bending it around your German tides to your pals and shooting above absolute frost if you're using absolute frost on like a Palladius army or something. I think the overall DPS is better. And I forgot my homeward thunderclouds. So this is a little bit of the rusty thing. And one thing to keep in mind as I swim, I tried to swim back. I wanted to see if it was even possible, but it is not. I can do a spoiler right there. So what I'll say quickly, I think on this attempt I was using the cheeseburgers. I'm missing a little bit of attack compared to using curry. So that 90 seconds probably would have been closer to 80 seconds if I'd been using that 5% attack buff, because it just stacks a little bit better. And I also think Fellbat was helping me a little bit to do damage. I'm not sure how much it was, but honestly, this plasma cannon with the headshots is pretty much equal to that 24 quad launcher build, because I'm missing out on 5% attack, which is quite a bit when you're stacking it multiplicatively. So no homeward thundercloud. That's the rust showing right there. I'm just petting Fellbat. We will die together. Except for Fellbat, who's just gonna float away. So for now, thanks for watching.